Gentlemen, please take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around for this next conversation. I'm Dan Murphy from CNBC, and I'm thrilled to be with you. I also wanted to thank Sarah and His Excellency for that very insightful conversation that really sets the stage for your next session here at FII8. We're going to be talking about how financial institutions can build the next economic mega region. And of course, we're talking about the development that's happening right here in the GCC, particularly in Saudi Arabia, and of course in the UAE and beyond as well. So joining me on stage is Arif Amiri, the CEO of the Dubai International Financial Centre. We're also joined by Hisham Ahmed, the Group CEO and board member of GFH Financial Group. Rayan Fayez is Deputy CEO of Neom. Oliver Jenkyn is the Group President of Visa, and Christian Ulbrich is the JLL CEO. So please again, make them feel welcome. Thank you, gentlemen. So let's kick off our conversation with a broad question for each of you. And first of all, how do you see your company and sector contributing to the mega region of the future? And what would you say are the key challenges that lie ahead? Arif, would you like to kick us off?
Absolutely, Dan. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm really delighted to be here. I mean, I'm always impressed to see the level of energy and the progressive thinking that's here in the kingdom and in Riyadh and during this wonderful event. I mean, for us at the DIFC, we have been building and continue to build not only a financial center, but an urban destination. And that is so important for us because if we look at global GDP as a whole, about 70 to 80% of that global GDP is actually produced or generated from urban cities and global cities. So therefore, for us, it's important that we actually infuse that destination, that city, and that sector by three key elements. They can be seen as opportunities, and they can also be seen as challenges. One is how do you shape that development to really address the need of talent? And I use the word talent in a wider definition. When I say talent, it's the individual, it's the institution, it's the family office, it's the wealth and asset manager that would like to really take advantage of the platform you're enabling. The second opportunity or challenge is how do you embrace technology? And technology today, we've seen so many sessions that are really going deep in the conversation of AI. And how do you ensure that that technology is not only enabling the community, but also enabling the platform to ultimately meet the objective of the talent and the institution? And the last bit, which is also equally an opportunity and a challenge, is transformative regulations. Through transformative regulations, you'll be able to address the need of talent through technology, as well as through regulations that are enabling. In the last 12 months, we've been able to introduce laws and regulations that are first to the world. One of them was the digital asset law and regulation. The second one was the venture building regulation that we produced out of the DIFC. And the third, how do you infuse data protection with AI altogether? And if you're able to harness those three elements, the three T's, talent, technology, and transformative regulations, you should be able to produce phenomenal results. In the past 4 years, we've seen us been able to have the number of companies registered within the DIFC grow from 3,000 to north of 6,500. You've seen also the talent base grow phenomenally as well, from about 20,000 people to north of 45,000 people within the center itself.
So fascinating. I, of course, live and work in the DIFC, so I've seen that development myself. But also an interesting question for you a little later on about how perhaps Riyadh and Dubai have both competing and complementary developing financial centers. So we'll touch on that. But Hisham, I wanted to go over to you and maybe ask about how you see your role and the role of the business in shaping the mega region of the future.
Yes, see, the mega regions, they need to create future mega regions. You need ambitious vision and scale, investment incentives, which create excitement and brings demand for FDI. We play in this role, and we have seen how what's happening in the region creates massive opportunity for an investment bank like us to spot opportunities and try to, throughout all sectors, be it logistics, technology, healthcare, and education, to try to fill the gap. What is exciting about the region and Saudi, it's not just focused on Saudi, but it integrates throughout the region, all the neighboring countries, which supports its positioning as a mega region. And the government, they have been very successful in maintaining its growth in isolation of any geopolitical issues and tensions. And a great proof for that is that stability of stock markets and real estate. We have been investing in the previously to creation of nuclear cities, and the first maybe which is close to our hearts is the Bahrain Financial Harbor at the north of Bahrain, which has been built on the historical harbor of trade in Bahrain. A beautiful mixed-use hospitality destination, as well as business. We have been also involved in the Nabi Mumbai, the new hub of India for trade and logistics, and recently with partnership with Adani and the developments around the new airport. They have a different objectives as well, but the region combines all of the opportunities from logistics, the ability for building the future data and AI hubs, and our clients, they love investing in the region. In the States was our first destination. It's a deep market, many players, ability to monetize is great. The region has replicated those features, and I cannot think of any other place to invest, only the region. Also the governments and the regulations are, they are mindful of the journey of investors, which gives us comfort. We bring FDI through private placements and direct investments, and we are comfortable that the regulations are flexible, and they are mindful of the investor's journey and ability to scale them up through several rounds of investment.
So much development happening there. And I wanted to shift the focus over to Saudi Arabia as well, because Rayan, you are Deputy CEO of Neom. So talk to me about the development that we're seeing with regards to Neom. I think you would have to be living under a rock, so to speak, to have not heard about Neom yet. So where do we stand in the construction of what is arguably one of the most important projects under Vision 2030?
Thank you very much, Dan, and thanks for the FII for inviting me to be here. Actually, this is a very special place for Neom. This is where it was announced 7 years ago by His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and Chairman of Neom. It started in 2017 with the announcement, progressed into developing sector strategies and developing the master plan of Neom. And where we are now, we have very good visibility and certainty as to how Neom is going to evolve and develop across the various master plans, but more importantly, across the sector strategies. Although people see and relate to the physical master plan of Neom and the infrastructure of Neom and the real estate of Neom, but Neom is not a real estate development project. Real estate is a big part of it. Neom is an economy building exercise. And as a result, these 15 sectors that have been identified and developed are going to be the economic engines of Neom. When we talk about the region, when we talk about building employment, generating employment, creating GDP, diversifying the economy, being the key pillar of Vision 2030, it doesn't work. It doesn't rely on the physical infrastructure only. So the physical infrastructure, I'd like to call, is only the hardware. What differentiates Neom is really the software, the industries and the technologies that are going to be building on top of that. We are starting where other people left off. We are reinventing the categories of the various sectors and technologies to develop what is the city of the futures, which is really where the name comes from. We celebrated an important milestone last week with the opening event of Sindala, the first region to come into Neom, one of many to come. Certainly not the biggest, actually one of the smaller ones. So I always call this the appetizer as to what else is coming. The ambition of Neom is not, although it's physically located in the kingdom, is to transcend the kingdom's borders and redefine livability through some of the innovative livability models that we are creating, certainly in the line. Redefine business with a globally competitive regulatory infrastructure that we are building to attract global talent and global capital, and redefine conservation. 95% of Neom, which is a very big region, 26,000 square kilometer, 95% of which is put aside as a nature reserve. The end state of Neom will be 100% renewable powered through wind as well as solar, and ultimately redefining how human and nature can coexist without one compromising the other. So these are the ideas and the DNA that is coming out of it beyond the real estate that is much more visible and other people see.
Can I just follow up with a question on the financing of this? Obviously, there's been a lot of headlines about timelines being pushed back, budgets also being pushed back. Will you be able to sustain the investment costs required to finish the project in its original form?
I think we are now actually at a very interesting inflection point in Neom's journey. I mean, we moved from it being a project to it becoming a proper company with its own balance sheet and its own capital structure. And with that comes a maturity of the funding sources. A significant part of Neom is being funded by the government through PIF as our only shareholder, as well majority PIF, and as well as the Ministry of Finance. But what that does is that it invests in the infrastructure using the government's capital and de-risks the project for the private sector to come in. So what we've seen recently over the last 18 to 24 months, significant amount of private sector capital coming in, more than 60 billion riyals of private sector commitments, more than 30 billion riyals of debt funding across Neom and the various projects, and more to come. With that, with these commercial assets becoming a lot more visible, we're seeing very good appetite from the private sector to co-fund and co-invest with us in the journey. This will not work with the government funding alone, and there was never the intention. But the intention has always been for the government to kickstart it and invest significantly in the infrastructure for the private sector to come in.
Okay, very fascinating. And that's a great point to bring Oliver into the conversation as well. What's Visa's role in shaping and taking part in the mega regions of the future?
Well, I think achieving the goal of being an effective mega region requires, among other things, effective, seamless money movement. Be it consumers making purchases in their everyday life, B2B money movement, government collections, government disbursements. You need effective money movement. If you don't have effective money movement, you're not going to have effective seamless commerce. If you don't have seamless commerce, it's not going to be a great mega region. I often think of money movement as similar to blood in a body. If you have effective blood circulation within a body, you have a healthy body. If you have effective money movement within an economy, you have an effective economy. And for my company, we spend 100% of our time investing money to ensure seamless, secure, efficient, innovative digital payments. Be it moving money from a consumer to a merchant, a business to a business, a person to a person, a government to a consumer. Money has to move between all of those endpoints seamlessly and efficiently within a mega region. But it's not just getting money from A to B. It's the solutions that go with that. Authorization, clearing, settlement, dispute resolution, underwriting, fraud, cybersecurity, identity protection, customer service. All of those solutions that come with the movement of money from A to B are essential to ensuring that seamless money movement that'll help truly unlock the potential of a mega region. And that's what we spend all our time doing at Visa in partnership with central banks, with governments, with our financial institutions, and with fintechs. And I think that's the role that we play in helping support the mega regions of the future.
Christian, what's the JLL view on this?
Well, if I stick to Oliver's picture, if you are the blood, then we are the body, because real estate is obviously the core of every city, of every mega region. That's where we spend most of our lifetime. We do spend that within buildings. And if you develop cities, if you develop mega regions, you have to get the right combination of residential space for all levels of society and for all lifestyles. You have to create workplaces. You have to create the right entertainment buildings. But you also have to create the right educational environment, universities. It's circular. You need to create the right talents, and so it's all coming together. And we as JLL, we are helping, obviously, the public sector and the private sector to get that right. It's to some degree an art, but it's very much a science. It's a data-driven business where you are trying to use the best practice which we generate from our global footprint and bring it to the specific region and to help them to get it right for their environment, for their demography, and to make it future-proof. Because what we are building today has to work not only for the next 5 years, it has to work for the next 25, 50 years, also from a sustainability aspect. And so that's the role we are playing here.
I think it's really interesting as well. One thing that's been spoken about quite a lot at FII this year is, of course, the impact of Gen AI. And I understand if you're in physical assets like real estate and infrastructure, perhaps less of an impact. But this does have the potential to reshape a lot of what we're talking about as a future shaping force. So a question for the panel, what will that play in, this is Gen AI, shaping the future mega region of the next decade? Where do you see an impact? Arif, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I think from my perspective, this part of the world, this part of the region, we have a very young population that's really intertwined with every advancement in terms of technology. If you look at the governments here are quite forward-thinking as well, so technology is being adapted at a very rapid pace. If we look at the UAE, for example, we've appointed the first AI minister. Look at Dubai, we've actually put a roadmap for our AI blueprint with the core objection of really accelerating the adoption of AI that will impact the economy roughly about 100 billion dirhams in the span of the years to come, with an enhancement of productivity, which I think is a minimum of 50% or above. I mean, with technology, we think the impact is going to be really at multiple folds. With us as DIFC, as an authority, generative AI or Gen AI will play a pivotal role because it's not only going to touch our clients, our community members, but also us in terms of how we engage with our clients and enhance and provide our services. So it'll be very instrumental. We've done 2 initiatives as of late. One, we've launched a campus that does 3 things. One, provide the infrastructure for all the users, where it was GPUs, for example, or programs that help kickstart your engagement with this technology. Secondly, we've also launched within the AI campus a licensing regime as well that enable companies to license themselves and be able to engage the wider marketplace, not only in Dubai, but the wider region, of course. And thirdly, it was very important for us to ensure that we actually allow startups to have the right tools through global and regional partners to actually engage in this ever impactful, ever transformative application of AI. And finally, we've also hosted a similar event where we actually had forward thinkers. We had think tanks also that are there within Dubai addressing the needs and the wants of economies and communities when it comes to AI. So to answer your question, Dan, AI will be intertwined with our life like we have not seen it before. And I think AI will be instrumental. And if you don't have AI in the back of your pocket or in your phone, you probably will not be able to relate to what is today and what's coming as well.
Right. So does anyone else want to speak to this? Do you see AI as more of an enabling or a disruptive force when it comes to shaping the mega region of the future?
Yeah. When it comes to mega cities and future cities, we're talking about future, you cannot imagine without those technologies and AI. It's the experience, it's the intelligence, it's where people wants to be, and the infrastructure supporting it. Yesterday we have launched, I think, one of the first Power AI integrated banking services application, where it's seamless. You can open your account, transfer, you get an advice, and this is, it became a necessity now. It's not just a general feature. The infrastructure I would like to talk behind it, supporting it, require the data center, the power which the region has and can provide and can lead. There's a shortage in power and space, and the region has that. We have been investing into the data centers in the US, and now we are focusing also in the region, supported also by the logistics. Last year we have announced 1 billion Saudi Riyal investments in logistics. This year, tomorrow, inshallah, we are also signing with the Penatoni and the GWC for 2 billion additional logistics plan for the Saudi Arabia. Also with data centers, I think this is the future, and this is the intelligence that you want to provide. Yeah.
Okay, Christian, Oliver, you want to speak to that as well?
Yeah, I would say, going back to your question, it is much more an enabler than a disruptor. It's all about collecting data, and data allows you to understand how people are using actually those cities and those mega regions. It allows you to drive productivity. I mean, just think about the amount of maintenance which is needed to keep cities on their path. AI will help you very much with regards to predictive maintenance and all those aspects. But just to use a very practical example, we are faced in an unprecedented way this year with flooding all around the world driven by climate change. AI will allow you to create future-proof cities who can deal with those kind of weather extremes and keep cities livable, and also keep the damage from those weather extremes at a level where it's still sustainable from an economic point of view. So I think it is a very, very important aspect for us to enable the viability of cities and mega regions.
And if I go back to the money movement point, Dan, that I was making earlier, there's both negative and positive impacts of Gen AI on the money movement. On the negative side, there is an absolute tsunami of identity theft that will come powered by intelligent generative AI, which is something we as a financial industry need to be ready for collectively. That's on the negative side, the power of Gen AI used against the financial industry that we need to be ready for. On the positive side, I think generative AI can fundamentally change how commerce actually takes place, something that my colleagues and I like to refer to as self-driving commerce. So just let me explain it just for 1 second by way of an example. Let's say I forgot my daughter's birthday present. The solution is simply this in the future. Forgot Kate's birthday, get her something nice. That's the end of my shopping experience. From a voice command into my watch or whatever my generative AI platform is, it has all of the information it needs to complete that transaction. It knows me, it knows my daughter, it knows my daughter's circle of friends, it knows what they like. It knows what circle of friends like my daughter's around the world like. It can search any store around the world for any size, any color to make the purchase of that good. It can use peer reviews to assess the quality of that seller. It can decide how much of expedited shipping it should do based on how close to my daughter's birthday I actually remembered I'd forgot to get the present. It can get the present wrapped. It can get a handwritten card in my handwriting with a quote from my daughter's favorite musical artist. I don't know who that is, but Gen AI does. And it will decide how to pay for that transaction. So the only interaction I have from talking into my watch, my next interaction with this present being opened, is at the kitchen table when my daughter's opening that present 3 days later. I'm completely removed from the process. Now, whether it unfolds exactly like that is beside the point. The message is that how commerce and shopping takes place will be completely different within mega regions. And the roles of different players who are currently active in this space can change fundamentally. So that's something that we're very involved in, again, with our partners, to try to think of how that could evolve and the investments that need to be made so we can harness that future of generative AI in a commerce experience for the mega regions of the future. A lot of change coming.
Absolutely fascinating. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick pulse check on the mega regions of the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for being here, and please thank my panel for joining today.